What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Teed Up. I'm your host, Pierre, Pee Wee the Plug, and Dreesen on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. We are now on NBC. I'm excited. This is also season 2. All of my beautiful viewers who are here joining us, welcome. This is a little different than our normal schedule, but again, with the move to NBC, I'm excited. Y'all excited. We have a lot to unpack, and this is the place you want to be all week long for the Enjoy Basketball Hour. The first thing we're going to do is give y'all our top 10 players we are buying stock into entering the season. We're not going to waste no time. We got a jam-packed episode for y'all. And I always like to say this. Take everything we're saying at the beginning of the season with a grain of salt. A lot of things are going to happen that we're going to be, viewing and expecting. Some things going to go left, some things going to go right. But here at Teed Up, we're just going to have a lot of opinions that are going to be all over the place, but most of them will make sense. The first player that I want to talk about as far as buying stock into is a guy that I think has carved out a lane and a role for himself early in his career. A guy that has kind of gone, baby step after baby step. And that's AJ Green of the Milwaukee Bucks. AJ Green is a guy who has come into the league as a prolific shooter. And every single year, he's gotten more opportunity given to him by the Milwaukee Bucks organization. And I feel like this is the year where it all gets put together. There's a lot riding on AJ Green and a lot of the other co-stars here in Milwaukee to put Giannis in a situation that makes him feel comfortable being in Milwaukee for the long haul. There's a lot of rumors right now swirling around the Giannis situation, whether he'll be there, request a trade. We'll see. But I do know that Milwaukee is banking on AJ Green to take another step with more responsibility. And I believe the two-man game between these two, the outside shooting and the two-way upside that AJ Green has, coming off of the extension he just got and the playoffs last year where he played some of the best basketball I've seen in his career. I think he could take that momentum into having, a really strong year and a career year. And I would not be surprised if AJ Green is going to be a name that we see on the most improved player end of the year award list. I don't want to say he's going to win it, but I would not be surprised if he was mentioned in the conversation, to say the least. And that's also one of the things that I think is incredible about AJ Green is that the Bucks were able to wrap him up into a long-term contract, which I think, for the most part, he'll be able to outperform as soon as this year with just again two-way ability and the shooting complementing, the play style of Giannis Antetokounmpo. At number 2, a young guy, a guy that has been, over the last year or so, a guy that a lot of people has taken intrigue into. And that's Kyshawn George of the Washington Wizards. Shout out to my guy Christian. He's a big fan of Kyshawn as well. One of his picks for one of the underrated rookies coming in with the last class or whatnot. I think Kyshawn George simply is going to be too hard for the Washington Wizards to take off the floor. With their young core that they're trying to develop and put together, I look at him as one of the safer bets. He's a guy that complements almost everybody on his roster. He plays a lot of different roles, and I think that's what the modern wing is adding to a lot of teams is the versatility, right? The ability to put the ball on the floor, the ability to guard up, guard down, play with the basketball, play without the basketball. And already in preseason, we saw some added responsibility for him offensively, where he was playing out of a lot of dribble handoffs and making plays in the mid to short post. So I'm intrigued with Kyshawn George, and I believe for Washington to turn that corner like they're trying to in the next few years, he's going to be one of those glue pieces to this core. There's a lot of potential with Alex Sarr. They're banking on Trey Johnson being this incredible prolific scorer. They love Bub Carrington. We'll see what they have with Cam Whitmore. But to bring everything together, I'm buying large on Kyshawn George to take a big step this year in his sophomore season and to kind of turn the corner for the Washington Wizards to put together this young core. There's a lot of competition for minutes. That is the most intriguing part of Kyshawn George and everybody else's development is the fight for minutes because there are so many young bodies. But I do think, again, Kyshawn George is going to be a hard guy to take off the floor. At number 3, another young guy who just got paid not that long ago, Nikola Jovic of the Miami Heat. I will say with Nikola Jovic, he's, out of all of the guys on my list, probably the most unproven. He has a lot to prove this year. But the one thing that I think is going well for him is that the Miami Heat are kind of in a position where they need him to pan out. This is a big time year for him, fresh off of his extension, the Tyler Hero injury. And the situation, the Miami Heat, not really understanding where they are. I think this is going to be a big year to define the future of how they decide to head into the foreseeable future, whether that's going to be to further commit to Bam and Tyler, maybe breaking that up, maybe, pivoting into a retool or rebuild situation, whatever. Nikola Jovic is going to be important to whichever route or avenue they decide to go down. And so I'm looking at him to be one of those big jumbo playmakers who can, kind of set the tone or facilitate for them while they wait for Tyler Hero to return from injury. He's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet, and we need that outside shot to really be something that he can count on in his game. He's been a streaky shooter for the first couple of years, but I think this is a year where he can put it all together. And I'm extremely excited to see what type of role he can carve out for himself, seeing that they might go big with Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo in that front court. So Nikola Jovic, write that one down. That's one that I think a lot of people should be tuning into. Next, one of my favorite guys, a friend of the show, a dude who I'm going to support for almost his entire career just because he shows that much love, and that's Jaylon Tyson with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jaylon Tyson at 22 years old, I think is ready to fully commit to a role. I thought that he was one of those rookies that came in a year ago that would be ready to play from day one. And I think right now in Cleveland, there's a lot of injuries, and that wing position has been something that they've been trying to secure for the last few years, right? They have that big four of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland in the backcourt, and then you have an all-star front court with the reigning defensive player of the year in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. That last final in-between piece is something they've been really trying to nail. I thought they did a really good job going out and getting Max Strus. He's going to be hurt to start the year. And then last year, they went out and got DeAndre Hunter as a sixth man who also could fill that void for Max Strus. But now we just got to report that he might be hurt to start the year. And so when you have left is Lonzo Ball, who is going to probably be on like a 20 or so minute restriction to start the year. We know how much he's fought back to get back on the floor. And that leaves a lot of room and opportunity for a guy like Jaylon Tyson. And I love what I've seen from him and the flashes he's gotten in the different opportunities, whether that was last year or summer preseason. They're going to need him to be able to knock down catch and shoot opportunities. But as far as everything else, I do think he's a Swiss Army knife at the wing position who could take, secondary ball handling possessions. He's going to be a versatile defender. He can play out in transition. He's a ferocious driver, and he's a really good sound decision maker. And you put him with those other four that I mentioned in their lineup, he's going to be really effective for them while they wait for Max Strus and a DeAndre Hunter to really get fully healthy. And hopefully, because they're so good in the regular season, he'll be able to carve out some confidence so that by the time they get to the postseason, which is where it's going to be really big for the Cavaliers, he'll be more comfortable and have a real defined role in this team to be effective, because the depth is something that they're going to need to bank on. And Kenny Atkinson is a guy that has taken pride in his developmental, mindset as a head coach. And so I have all of the confidence in the world with that team and Jaylon Tyson for him to be able to be a productive player on a team that's looking to have a championship type season. At number 6, I'm a little biased here. It ain't a secret. I love me some New York Knicks, and I got Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is a game changer for this Knicks team. The ability to lock down the paint, to be a monster on the glass, on both sides of the floor, especially the offensive glass. He showed last year that when he was in the lineup next to Cat, there was a huge difference. And we talked about all last year the defensive woes that we had with Karl-Anthony Towns being the anchor and center. You now push him to the 4, and you make it a little bit more reminiscent of what Cat had out there in Minnesota when it was him and Rudy in that front court. And I think that Mitchell Robinson has a simple job, but he does it really effective. And again, when he is on the floor for the New York Knicks, this is a totally different team. We have some type of defensive identity, and you pair him with the likes of an OG Anunoby, the likes of a Mikal Bridges, and it just gives us a little bit more of a foundation on the defensive side of the floor. And we're going to need that. The NBA right now has a lot of teams with a lot of offensive firepower, a lot of offensive punch. And for us to be able to be that complete team like Cleveland looking to push for an NBA Finals appearance, it's going to be big that Mitchell Robinson can be on the floor and be effective. That's the only thing holding them back. The last few years, Mitchell Robinson has dealt with a lot of different injuries. And I think even to start this year, or for the most part, they're going to monitor him on back-to-backs. He might have I don't want to call it a minute restriction, but they're definitely going to take it easy with the minutes. And I want to say we did a really good job going out to address some of those front court issues to comfortably be able to preserve and make sure that Mitchell Robinson is good to go for the playoffs. We got much more after break. We're going to finish this list of our top 10 players we're buying stock in. We'll be right back. Next on the list, Tristan da Silva of the Orlando Magic. He fits what they love. They love jumbo wings who are very skilled and can defend. He checks a lot of boxes of what they're looking for at that position. And the way he's played in the preseason, the way he played in Eurobasket, again, we talk about taking momentum into the season. I think he's going to do just that. He complements the star players, which I think is one of the biggest traits you can have as a young player trying to figure out a role. And again, expectations. They are going to need him. They're relying on a lot of these young guys. And when you talk about a team that dealt with as many injuries as they did last year, knock on wood, we don't want it, but they have to prepare and brace themselves forward. He is a reliable option who is ready to play from day one for them. Next, at number 7, again, this is the part of the list where I get a little biased. We got Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. If you watch Teed Up, if you watch Numbers on the Board podcast, if you've just heard me speak basketball, you've probably heard me talk about Jalen Johnson, one of my favorite players in the NBA. Very disappointed, like a lot of Hawk fans and NBA fans around the league last year, where he, had an injury that took him out for a majority of the season. So now to be able to see him back fully healthy, to see that the team that the Atlanta Hawks were able to put together over the course of the offseason, I am at an all-time high of buying into Jalen Johnson. I think that this team is a match made in heaven for his play style. Him and Trae Young, I think they have a lot of complementary pieces, and I think it puts them in a position to be able to play some extremely valuable basketball for the first time of his career, at least at this level of player that he is. So I believe with this scene set and this opportunity presented to him, he's going to now be able to be in a position to play for an all-star spot. And when you look around the Eastern Conference, and I hate that it has to be this way, but we do have a few guys that will not be in the conversation due to injury, right? So we have Jason Tatum won't be a part of the All-Star weekend this year, Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard. With guys like that out of the picture, it only opens up more opportunities for a guy like Jalen Johnson or the Franz Wagners around the league. So I'm looking at Jalen Johnson. I'm looking at the year that he gave us before he got hurt, 20-10-5. It's not a lot of players in NBA history who were able to put up those type of numbers. And when you think about his age, and again, the step that this team took on paper from talent-wise, they have a chance to really take the East by storm. And if they're going to get to that level, it's going to be Jalen Johnson taking another step in his game. And I think the sky is truly the limit for a talent like him. Number 8, another young guy with some opportunity opening up for him, and that's Terrence Shannon Jr. out of Minnesota. Just like I talked about with Jalen Johnson, the guys they acquired, one of those guys being Nickeil Alexander-Walker over the offseason, going to the Atlanta Hawks, which I think creates a great opportunity for Shannon Jr. with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a playoff team. He was able to get playoff opportunity and experience last year towards the end of the year. And a couple of those games that he got to play, he played his ass off. He played really, really, really well. And I think some of that confidence and some of those results, like I talked about with AJ Green, like I talk about with Jaylon Tyson and what I hope that he can have, I truly believe being able to perform on that stage in that environment really goes far for a lot of these young players in that following year when they have more of a role or more of an opportunity. Because if you can do it in the playoffs where all the marbles are on the table, then the regular season is going to be seamless. And so I think of that, and I think of the opportunity that's opened up for him and just his mentality that we've seen throughout his college career. He's a Chicago guy, so I'm familiar with him from a high school perspective. Terrence Shannon Jr. has that mindset and that mentality for a guy that you're looking to take full advantage of his opportunity. I love the fact that he has the aggression to be able to put the ball on the floor and attack. I also love the ability for him to be able to catch and shoot. And he showed a lot of that last year. He showed that more in the preseason again. And I think he'll be able to build on that. The only thing he's going to have to worry about is defensively. This is a team that buys in on the defensive side of the basketball with Ant, Jaden McDaniels, Rudy. He's going to have to buy in. And as long as he can hold his own, he doesn't have to be a standout, but if he can hold his own and continue to find ways to effectively play off of Anthony Edwards and the rest of this starting group out there in Minnesota, Terrence Shannon not only will have an opportunity, but I think he'll be one of the better draft picks over the last couple of years, seeing what type of role he was able to carve out with the Timberwolves. Number 9, an interesting guy, a guy that I think is an example of what changes scenery can really do in both a positive and a negative way. And that's John Collins. And what I mean by that is I think the last time we saw John Collins play playoff basketball, his value was going up. When they went on that Eastern Conference Finals run and he was able to guard Julius Randle the way he did in that Knicks series, the conversation around John Collins was out of this world. And then the Hawks kind of had some injuries. They weren't able to meet that expectation again. And the conversation got shaky. And then before we knew it, we saw John Collins get traded to the Utah Jazz. In the change of scenery of John Collins going to the Jazz, I kind of feel like it put him on a back burner. We haven't heard much of John Collins. The Utah Jazz haven't been that relevant of a team as far as competing and winning. They're not playing TV games. So even if he has one of those highlight dunks that John Collins gives you, it only goes so far. And now, changing his scenery again, putting him in the Western Conference on a team that I think is a legitimate playoff team, a legitimate veteran team who can really go on a run this year, in my opinion, and pairing him with a guard reminiscent of Trae Young, like James Harden, a really, really good floor general who's going to operate out of the pick and roll, look for him on lob attempts. I think this can rejuvenate John Collins and put him back in a more relevant role. He has always been a guy at his size who has athletic ability out of this world. He's always been an above average shooter for his position. And you tie that into the playoff environment, it brings up his defensive tenacity. And so, again, when we're talking about buying stock in guys, he's a guy that I think has been an afterthought. I think his stock is probably, I don't want to say an all-time low because there was a year where he was dealing with an injury and the three-point shot did not really fall that year. And I think that knocked him a bit. But I think it's probably at as low as it's going to get or as low as it's been. And I think right now, again, changing the environment from a team that's playing for, a lottery pick and now going to an LA situation on a team that's playing to potentially get to the NBA Finals. This is a great team to be a part of. They have a lot of depth. There's going to be opportunity because you're playing with an older roster. So the Kawhis of the world probably want to sit out game here and there, load manage a bit. And I think that'll open up some rotational minutes and some nights where John Collins can play, 35 to 38 minutes. But if you get a guy like John Collins to come off your bench, you put him with a James Harden. We've seen the ability that James Harden has had as far as, I don't even want to say rejuvenating, but driving up the value for pick and roll players. And John Collins is a guy that's going to be able to pick and pop. He's going to be able to pick and roll. He could put guys on posters. You put him in lineups where Brook Lopez is out there as a floor spacer. It opens up the entire paint and driving lanes for John Collins. I love this. And if you're not buying stock, or if you're looking for players to buy stock in, I would say John Collins should be one of the highest guys on your list because the bang for your buck is there. John Collins, Clippers, buying stock in him, lock that one in. And then last but not least, a name that I think will surprise people in a certain way, but when I give you the context, it would all make sense. At number 10, I have Anthony Davis. And the reason I'm buying stock into Anthony Davis is because I feel like this is the first time in a long, long, long time where Anthony Davis is entering a year with a team that feels like it's been constructed for him. Now, obviously, I would be lying if I said that they are purposely put together this team for Anthony Davis as their centerpiece, right? Because, they have Kyrie, they've drafted Cooper Flag now, and a lot of it is going to go to Cooper Flag. But Anthony Davis has told us for the last decade how much he loves playing power forward, how he has really no desire to be a center, and how, he much rather play with another big in the front court. And I look at this front line for the Dallas Mavericks. I look at the bodies on the roster. The starting lineup is some way is going to be Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis, and Lively. That is the front court that I believe Anthony Davis has, wanted to be a part of for most of his career. It's also the type of front court and the size that we saw him have with the Lakers when they won a championship in the bubble, which was one of my favorite versions of Anthony Davis. And so when I think about that, I think about the bench with Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington and Najee Marshall. There is size, depth, and bodies in this front court that I truly believe would allow Anthony Davis to be who he wants to be. And I think it'll allow him to not have to bang so much, which will in turn keep him on the floor, keep him fresher. And then with Kyrie Irving being out, I think you put Anthony Davis in a situation where Jason Kidd is going to have to heavily, rely on him offensively. And it's not just a scoring mindset. I think that's running the offense through him. I think that's allowing him to be the go-to guy, putting him in a lot of different actions, using him in a lot of variety of ways. And when you put all that together, for me, as long as he can be healthy and stay on the floor, it's shaping Anthony Davis up to have one of those years where he's an all-NBA player, where he is a top 10, top 8, top 7 player. They have expectations in Dallas. And again, we know they have Cooper Flagg. We know a lot of attention is going to go to him and they're going to focus on his development. But a part of that is them also having this really good put together team. And if Kyrie Irving's return is going to be on the table, they're going to have something to play for to keep that door open for the playoffs. And I think it all sets a stage for Anthony Davis to be comfortable, to be effective, and have an incredible year that I don't think a lot of people are anticipating for Anthony Davis. And with that, that's going to wrap up our top 10 players that we're buying stock into. With that said, we're going to take a break and we'll be back. Shout out to our sponsors over at DraftKings. We're going to be doing our DraftKings Pick 6. It's a very simple format. You're going to go to player stats, and you're going to pick between 2 to 6 players. And whatever you decide, you go more or less. Points per game, rebounds, assists, more or less. Very simple format to follow. With that being said, I am going to be picking my season-long Pick 6. I'm going to have 4 players, and I got season averages, and we're going to go more or less. The first one is a guy that I just talked about, Anthony Davis. His points per game at 25. I am going to smash the more. Again, Kyrie Irving is going to be out for most of the season, and this is a team that is more defensive, and I think they're going to heavily rely on the production offensively from Anthony Davis. And when you look at his matchups over the last few years, there's not too many teams out west that have an answer for him. So give me Anthony Davis averaging more than 25 points per game this season. Next on the list, we're going to go with his teammate, Cooper Flagg. His points per game is 16.7. I am going to hit the less button on this one. Again, I know we love Cooper Flagg. I haven't picked it and projected as my, rookie of the year for this year, but I just think that 17 points is a little too rich for me. When you look at how Cooper Flagg has impacted the basketball over the last few years of his career and now his early part of preseason or summer league with the Mavericks, he's a do-it-all player. And a lot of his upside is on the defensive end. So I don't think he's going to come out in that first year averaging too many points offensively. I think we're going to look to see about 13 to 15 at max. So with that being said, I would definitely hit the less on a Cooper Flagg season average of 16.7 points per game. After that, we got Anthony Edwards. His assists is at 4.7 for the season. We've talked about it all off season long. He's locked in. He's gotten off social media. He's watched a bunch of film. He's anticipating a lot of teams loading up on him and doubling him and trying to get the basketball out of his hands. And we know that the next step in his progression is facilitating and learning how to play make and use his scoring to leverage opportunities for his teammates. We saw what he did last year with the three-point shot and how he was able to take that into a lethal threat killer for him. And I expect to see him do the same thing with the playmaking. So with that being said, I think he's going to average around 5.5 assists this year. So I'm going more, or 4.7 assists on a season for Anthony Edwards. And then last but not least, Brandon Miller. A guy who we love, a guy who missed a bunch of time, and I hate how much I'm mentioning guys missing time. We got to get healthy in the NBA. They got Brandon Miller on a season making 4 threes a game. I am going to hit the less. He's going to average a bunch of attempts, but to make 4 threes a game puts you in the Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards league-leading three-point shooters. I think he might get around there, but I don't know if he's going to hit that just yet. So I'm going to go on the less side for Brandon Miller at 4 threes made per game over the course of this season. Those are my pick 6. Go get your pick 6 and let me know what you make. For those of you who haven't checked out DraftKings Pick 6 yet, there's an exclusive offer waiting for you. Right now, new DraftKings customers can play 5 and get $50 in bonus picks. All you have to do is download the Pick 6 app and use promo code ENJOY when you sign up. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Texas, California, and Missouri. So don't be afraid to get in on the action. Ride the upside with Pick 6. Now I want to bring on my producer, Christian, to react to some of my Pick 6 picks. Christian, what you think? You can be honest, by the way. You can be honest.
I love the first 3. I'm on board on all the first 3, but I think you got it wrong on Brandon Miller. He averaged 11. He took 11 threes a game last year. and he hit 3.9 and he shot 35%. So if he pushes to like 38% and he's getting double-digit threes up, I totally think he's going to hit it. That's not one I would.
17 games played. Inflated stats over the course of 82 games. That may dip just a little bit. That was my thinking. With the excitement of the season back, I decided to pick my top 5 games from opening week. I hope that I pick some good ones. You know how the NBA goes. Sometimes these games you get hyped for and it be a blowout and it be the games that we don't really care about turning out to be the good ones. Y'all follow me. Y'all basketball fans. Wednesday night, tonight, hours after you're viewing this, we're going to have the Spurs against the Mavericks. Now, I want to say I am a guy that believes in Cooper Flag. But during the summer, you might see some videos or some clips of me saying that I don't know if he's generational. That does not mean I'm not buying into the hype. It does not mean I don't get excited watching this guy. So to be able to see him take on Wemby in his first game got me excited. And also, I just gave y'all a 10-minute spiel on why I think Anthony Davis is going to have an incredible season and be like a top 7 player in the NBA this year. So as you know, my juices are flowing for that game. I'm also very interested to see exactly what the Spurs look like. I think we're buying into a lot of the hype because of what Wemby should look like in year 3. They had an incredible offseason as far as the draft. Luke Cornett, Keldon Johnson looked amazing in preseason. We finally, are going to see Dylan Harper in a real basketball environment. So I'm excited for that, but I just don't know if we're skipping steps for the Spurs. Are they legit right now? Do we have to wait for De'Aaron Fox to be fully healthy? You know what I mean? All of those things on the table. So that's one of the games that I'm extremely excited for. Next, of course, y'all know me. I got to do my homer pick. We have a potential preview of the Eastern Conference Finals. The New York Knicks against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 2 top teams out east. Everybody is picking one of these teams to represent the Eastern Conference and the foreseeable NBA Finals. I am obviously going with the Knicks. Again, the excitement is based around the Knicks and this new team structure that we should have with Mike Brown. I also kind of like this one because we'll get a chance to really match ourselves up against the Cavaliers. But the other side of this is like last year, we had opening night against the Celtics, and the Celtics set a record of 3-point makes against us. They blew us out. And it felt like every Knick fan in the world held on to that game for the entire course of the season. And then we took that game and we turned it into not being able to beat any of the top teams in the NBA. And so as a Knick fan, it kind of had me not really thinking we were going to do anything crazy in the playoffs just for us to have the best season we've had since I was a little boy. So I don't really know where I want to fall at on the fence of this game. Do I want to take this as like, if we win, we're going to win a championship? Do I take this as if we lose, this is going to be a big disappointing season? I got to figure that out in the next, a few hours or whatnot. But I am, again, excited for this team. It's always good to just match yourself up against the other top team. I would expect Jalen Brunson to have one of those opening night games where he has 30-plus points, him or Cat. But I also would expect the same for Donovan Mitchell. I think a lot of stars take these first games and they try to make that statement and say, like, yeah, it's going to be my MVP year, or it's going to be my 6th man of the year. You got to make that early season statement. So hopefully the Knicks can come through and make that statement for us. Friday, another day with multiple games for me. Hawks versus Magic. Again, going off of the Eastern Conference talk, 2 teams that made drastic moves this offseason to really propel them into the conversation of being able to maybe throw a curveball in the plans of the Knicks or the Cavaliers as far as the Eastern Conference Finals goes. We talked about it all offseason. The Hawks went out and got Kristaps Porzingis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Jalen Johnson is healthy. They went and got Luke Kennard, year 2 of Zachary Richardson. And then the Orlando Magic. This is year 2 for Tristan da Silva. Jalen Suggs is back healthy. They went out and got Desmond Bane, and they have the full healthy front court of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Wendell Carter has looked amazing in the preseason. Jace Richardson looks like a home run pick for them. So you got 2 teams both trying to be that team to enter the conversation of the elite of the Eastern Conference, while the Pacers are kind of a man down with Tyrese Halliburton, and while the Celtics are a man down with Jason Tatum. So I think this game is going to be a big statement game for one of these 2, and it should be a game that goes down to the wire. Should be one of those games that hopefully we maybe could get some overtime. I'm always a fan of overtime in these early games. Later that night, we have a playoff matchup that happened. The Timberwolves versus the Los Angeles Lakers. I would expect LeBron James to not be a part of this game as well. So again, Luka kind of versus the Timberwolves. The last time we seen Luka, by himself against the Timberwolves, he was sending them home with a game-winning shot over Rudy. A memory that a lot of Minnesota Timberwolves still got ingrained in their brain. So I know that every time Luka is on the floor against the Timberwolves, they looking to get quote unquote revenge. Anthony Edwards could be a big statement game for him as well. This is a guy that I have projected as an early MVP favorite. I know I'm not the only one with that pick. And again, the Western Conference is such a stock and packed conference with so much talent. You can't afford to fall too far behind in the Western Conference. And so I think a lot of these teams are going to put their best foot forward early. And we're going to see some of these star players out of the gate have these 40, potentially even 50-point performances. And Anthony Edwards is one of those guys who, just like Luka, could have that happen. And so I'll put my money on the Timberwolves to take that matchup. And then on Sunday, one of my favorite days to watch basketball. It's going to be a little tough. My fantasy football team is kind of in flux. We're like a game above 500, so I'm sweating out every single week, monitoring my lineup. Shout out to Dak Prescott and Drake May. But Celtics versus Pistons, I got to now squeeze some basketball into my schedule on Sundays, and this is one that I'm going to make a lot of room for. I'm super excited and anxious to watch this Boston Celtics team. We get it. There is no Jason Tatum. But again, they also had a lot of other roster turnaround. There's no Drew Holiday. There's no Kristaps Porzingis. But there's still Peyton Pritchard. There's still Jaylen Brown. There's still Derek White. And there's still the head coaching decision maker of Joe Mazzulla. So I'm as excited as anybody to watch the Celtics and to see what this new look team is going to look like. Some of those new faces with bigger roles and opportunities. What does Anthony Simons look like on a real competitive playoff team? I don't think we've seen that from him at this point in his career. And then the Detroit Pistons, they were kind of the darlings of last year, with Cade Cunningham being the face of that movement, turning around their season from losing, 28 or so games in a row to being a tough 6 seed who gave the New York Knicks everything that they had last year in their playoff series. They also had some roster turnaround. They added Duncan Robinson. They don't have Malik Beasley anymore. They added Karis LeVert. Asar Thompson is going to be healthy at the start of the year. Jaden Ivey, who was kind of, nursing his knee a little bit. He's having some knee soreness. He'll be back. So I'm extremely interested to see if they're able to take what they had last year and build on it, or could the Detroit Pistons kind of be in the same boat as the Sacramento Kings team from a few years ago, where the Kings were the darlings of the NBA and it looked like their trajectory was going upward, and they had went to the playoffs and played in a 7-game series against the Warriors. And before you know it, the next year wasn't kind of the same. And eventually they had to blow things up. And now that's a team that doesn't have De'Aaron Fox or Mike Brown just that fast. So a lot of games in a matchup. Real quick to end things up, I'll pick my winners and losers of these matchups on Wednesday. Spurs versus Mavs. As much as I love what Wemby and the Spurs have going on, I'm going to give the edge to the Mavericks in that game. I think Anthony Davis, again, comes out with a tough double-double. I'll say about 13 and 15 rebounds, maybe 4 or 5 assists. Cooper Flagg has a nice debut. I'll give him about 15 points, 6 or 7 rebounds, 3 or 4 assists as well. But I will say, I think Wemby starts off the season with a monster game himself. I think he has about 30-some points, maybe 4 or 5 blocks, and everybody on Twitter is on a timeline hyping up the MVP Wemby chance, and that train is going on. Knicks versus Cavs. I'm going to be biased. This is my show. On the Numbers on the Board podcast, or when I make a guest appearance on anybody else's podcast, I'll try to be level-headed and use my non-bias in those situations. But tonight, or right now, this is my show, my voice. We going Knicks. Not only are we going Knicks, we going Knicks in a double-digit win. I say the Knicks win by 11 or 12 points. And I say Jalen Brunson has a nice 30-point game. Cat has a strong double-double. And somebody off the bench is going to make a big impact, whether that's Jordan Clarkson, Kyshawn Yabusele, some Deuce McBride. Somebody is going to impact the game off the bench for the Knicks. And our offense is going to have everybody talking about, wow, Mike Brown really came in and gave them some flavor. Friday night matchups, Hawks versus Magic. As much as I love what the Magic did and what they do defensively, I'm going to give the edge to the Hawks in this one. I think Trae Young and company come out the gates on fire, fast-paced offense, but enough defense from, Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, and those guys to be able to take this one. And then later that night, the Timberwolves versus the Lakers. I'm going to give the edge to the Timberwolves. I think without LeBron James, the start to the season is going to be very crucial for the Lakers, and it's going to be a lot on the shoulders of Luka to really keep them in position to not fall too behind in the standings. And then on Sunday, Celtics versus Pistons. I'm going to give the edge to the Pistons. I think defensively, they're going to throw some things at them and make it tough for the Celtics. I'm so excited for the season. After this, me and producer Christian will answer some of your questions. Now joining me, my guy, producer Christian, a friend of the show, a part of the show, a guy that I love dearly. He has some questions for you guys. This is a segment we like to do called Q's with P. Christian invented this segment himself, so show him love for that name. Christian, what we got on the board today?
Some fun questions here, spanning from basketball to life. I'm going to start with a basketball one. This is from Anthony Sciortino. Hopefully I said your name right there, Anthony. He says, "Hey, P, congratulations again to you and the Enjoy Basketball team. If you had to pick one team that will either massively overachieve or spectacularly implode, who is your chaos pick for the season and why?"
Man, that's a really good question. Man, there's so many different teams that pop in mind. I'm just trying to think of the landscape. I'm going to just go implode. I'm going to go Memphis Grizzlies. And I think it's because they've already dealing with so many different injuries, right? Like we got the Ty Jerome update recently. Scottie Pippen Jr. just had a procedure. He'll be out for some months. Ja with the ankle sprain. I think he should be good, ready to go, but I don't like that ankle sprain. Jaren Jackson came back like the last game of preseason. Zach Edey is going to miss time. Brandon Clark is going. There is a lot of bodies already that's out for the Memphis Grizzlies. And again, this is a Western Conference, that's strong with a lot of talented teams. You gotta start the season with a punch. I do not like teams starting behind the eight ball and being injured and hobbled coming into the season. It only sets you up to fail. So I'm gonna go Memphis, man. I just don't know how many years left they have to invest into this team without them reaching or meeting certain expectations. And I think last offseason with the Taylor Jenkins firing and the trade of Desmond Bane is signaling to us that they think that this team has high expectations. You don't make those type of moves to just be a play-in team. You know what I mean? So I'll go to Memphis Grizzlies.
Next up is Geeked SA, who says, "Love the show. Shout out from South Africa."
Shout out to South Africa. Yes, sir.
He says, "I don't know if you watched any Brooklyn Nets basketball during summer league or preseason, but which of the rookies do you think has the highest possible chance of panning out?"
I did watch a lot of the preseason. I watched more preseason than summer league. I am going to say I'm in love with the potential of Jaeger Demon. I know there's a lot of love for Danny Wolf, but I do like Jaeger a lot. Like I really think that he is an intriguing player. Now, I think there are going to be rough moments. You know what I mean? The NBA is a different monster. He struggled with a lot of the pressure last year in college when BYU played some tougher opponents. But I think as his game grows and as he gets better and better, and he works on the deficiencies that he's going to face, I think there's some upside and some intrigue there. And when I see some of the success on some of the moments and flashes that Josh Giddey shows, it makes me have a little bit more confidence with Jaeger Demon. And I think the team that the Nets have put together right now, it complements how he wants to play. He wants to be a pass-first guy. He wants to get others involved. And he's playing with a couple of guys that only want to score. Michael Porter Jr., Cam Thomas, they just trying to get up shots. So he's going to handle the playmaking responsibilities. And he's been shooting the ball and scoring a little bit better than I was projected for him. So I think that, I would go Jaeger Demon. I have seen flashes from them all. You know what I mean? Traore, Powell, Wolf, you know what I mean? Seraphin, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I felt like 1,000 pronunciations have happened for that. But there's some upside there with Brooklyn. With 5 first-round draft picks, somebody better pan out.
Absolutely. They got a lot of crap for holding on to them, just bringing 5 rookies in. Definitely need that. Next question is from Ryan Conwell, which is the same name as the really good guard from Louisville. So we either got a friend of the program, a troll, or somebody with the same name. Anyways, Ryan says, "What's been your favorite album of 2025?" And says, if you care about Ryan's, he says his are either Earl Sweatshirt's Live, Laugh, Love or God Doesn't Like Ugly by JID.
I am offended that he put if I cared about his. Of course I care about yours.
No,
You're
no, no. I'm
uh,
just saying.
oh, okay, okay, yeah, I care about his. Alfredo too. Freddie Gibbs, definitely one of my favorites. I will say this has been a really good year, a start of the year for music. We've got a lot of OGs dropping. Shout out to Nas and Mass Appeal. They've made a lot of things happen. I've been enjoying the Mobb Deep album that came out recently. My boy Go Hayes just dropped an album. So yeah, I would say probably the Clips album, Alfredo 2, and Gold Haze when I had nothing, I had everything.
Next up, at James Ander 03, he says, I'm a massive Cavs fan, and I'm wondering your opinion on Tyrese Proctor. I really think he could be a serious rotational piece.
I think so too. You got a really good eye there because I think Tyrese Proctor fits exactly the type of guard that they need. He's going to be able to play off of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. He has positional size at 6'5", and he has defensive instincts that he was able to show us during preseason, summer league, and in his career at Duke. So I think Tyrese Proctor is going to be really good, and I think he can play from day one. And a secondary ball handler, like he's a guy that when he starts to get into the rotation, he's going to be hard for Kenny Atkinson to take off the floor. I think he's a really reliable backup guard there who can complement their main guys.
Tyron says, how do you manage watching your favorite team alongside all the others? I felt like I missed out on some amazing basketball because I was watching the Kings lose every clutch game last season.
Yeah, I think you got to understand the situation that your team is in, right? When the Knicks weren't in this position, I wasn't really prioritizing watching the Knicks over the rest of the NBA. I definitely made sure I watched and obviously kept up with my team. But there's just, again, like he said himself, there's so much going on around the NBA that if my team isn't in a good spot, I'm going to make sure that I'm prioritizing the other teams that have intrigue, right? I'm not going to miss out on the Thunder because I want to watch my 32 win team. Also, I think he is a little different. He don't really got an excuse because the Kings play a lot of those late night games. So what are you doing when everybody else is watching, brother? You got to lock in. But no, and all on a serious note, I get being a fan, but I think you just got to prioritize exactly what you said, right? Understanding where your team is at and understanding the situation that we're in right now in the NBA with all of this parity, all of this talent, and again, you'll still watch majority of your team even with prioritizing other teams, right? Like it's just what it is.
This one made me laugh. Tony says, I'm a freshman in high school,
and
I have two questions. One was about music and about albums. We already covered that. But two, he said, I'm getting my permit soon. Okay. Any tips?
Yes. Pay attention. Pay attention to every single thing. I think it's easier than what we realize. Like when you're going into the process, it seems like it's going to be extremely hard. But I think, again, paying attention takes you a long way. This is a time to really lock in. I've seen a lot of people not pay attention and not lock in, and then they weren't able to get their permit or they had to prolong getting that license. So pay attention, lock in. And I think paying attention when driving is just always going to, put you in a good situation. You're not responsible for yourself, unfortunately. Sometimes you have to account for the car in front of you, behind you, and on the sides of you because they're going to be in la la land. And if you only focus on you and your vehicle, it just unfortunately won't be enough, at least where I live, right? Like I could do everything I need to do and I'll still see somebody trying to swerve over into my lane and I will have to take precaution to make sure that we don't have a 3-car accident. So, it's more than just you on the road. That's the one biggest tip I can give you.
Josh, who is your favorite athlete outside of basketball?
My favorite athlete? Oh boy. Outside of basketball, probably I like Mike Evans a lot on the NFL side. Who isn't a fan of Shohei Ohtani, right? But if you're talking about all time, I'll probably say somebody Barry Bonds, maybe. Barry Bonds.
At Teed Up, we're definitely going to be dipping our toes a lot into college basketball this season. The name here is Evan wants to know if there's any college basketball players or teams that stand out to you that you really want to tune into this season.
I think it's funny that you said Ryan Conwell because I think their team with all of the abundance of guards that they have is going to be really intriguing. Creighton got some guys that I like over from Iowa joining their team that I think is going to be dope. And then you got UConn, UCLA with Donovan Dent. There's so many. I'm super excited for the year. And then to have Christian, like there's going to be some teams that I ain't thinking about right now that'll be on our radar.
This one I thought was funny. Melanin Raver says, Is Al Horford right now better than 2022 Otto Porter Jr.? So yeah, Warriors are winning the chip.
Shout out to the melanin. We love melanin. Is he better than Otto Porter right now? I don't know, because Al Horford is old, so I don't want to put too much on Al Horford's plate. And if that, like, that's funny that is the mindset. If he's better than Otto Porter, we're the champions. If only it was that simple. Y'all don't got Clay. You got to go get Clay. You got to go get Jordan Poole. You got to go get Wiggins, and you got to go get Looney. You're missing a lot of key ingredients. But no, I do think Al Horford might be more impactful on this team than what Otto Porter was to the other team. Now, to wrap up the show, I got producer Christian here again. We're going to do a fan favorite on numbers on the board, but he's going to probably crank up the difficulty until the knob is broke. This is who he play for. Y'all, listen, bear easy with Unc. I had a lot I was doing this week, so my mind may not be sharp, because I know Christian, he about to dive into the deep end for these names.
I saved you from some of the college two-ways, which is where I wanted to go with it, but these are all guys who have been in the league for at least a couple years and are in places that might have slipped through the cracks as you were following along with free agency. So, number one, this one should be maybe easy. George Niang.
George Niang. George Niang is on the Jazz.
Correct. He didn't ever get to play with the Celtics, of course. That was the confusing wrinkle there. Number two, Garrett Temple.
I think Garrett Temple is still with the Raptors.
Correct. Number three, Josh Okogie.
Rockets.
3 for 3. Number 4, Jabari Walker.
Philadelphia 76ers.
4 for 4. Number 5, Blake Wesley.
Portland Trailblazers.
Yep. Trade in the offseason. Number 6, Jordan Goodwin.
Jordan Goodwin just got picked up by the Suns for his second tenure with the Suns.
There you go. Number 7, Jock Landale.
Memphis Grizzlies.
He could start for them.
He could. I would not be. I kind of like Jock Landale. I'm not gonna lie. I know that not a lot of people walking around saying that they are big fans of Jock Landale, but I'm fake into Jock Landale playing significant minutes for the Grizzlies until their team gets back.
Where'd he go to college?
He went to St. Mary's.
There we go. Number 8, Pat Connaughton.
Charlotte Hornets.
That's going to be weird to see him not in Milwaukee.
It's going to be so weird. Some players just got to stay where they at, man. I get it. They had to trade him, money reasons and different things like that. Shout out to the Hornets for taking on that contract. But boy, I'm glad you said that. Like, even Jabari Walker, it's hard. It was hard for me to, and again, he's not Pat Connaughton, but man, I got so used to seeing him in a Portland Trailblazers jersey.
Number 9, Amir Coffey.
Amir Coffey is on the Milwaukee Bucks. They decided to keep him. Yeah, they cut Tyler Smith. How you feel about that? I like Tyler Smith.
He's the G League, and I didn't watch much Tyler Smith, to be honest. Okay. I don't really have an opinion on him.
He has a really good lefty stroke that I thought, could be valued with that team, front court spacing. So, yeah, they cut another rookie guy.
Last one. Go for the sweep here. Drew Eubanks.
Drew Eubanks plays for the Utah Jazz. Drew Eubanks he did play for the Jazz, right? Before this team he's on now?
He was on Phoenix.
Okay.
Maybe he was on Utah too.
I may be thinking of something I did on NBA 2K.
He was on Utah. Wait. I'm out of the loop. Since Phoenix, he went to Utah. Then he went to the Clippers. Now he's in another place.
Boom. Okay, so he did play for Utah.
Yeah.
Drew Eubanks, if he does not play for Utah, he plays for my mind's blanking. Drew Eubanks plays for the Hornets.
Sacramento.
Oh my gosh. And I think they said that on numbers on the board. I wasn't paying attention. Oh my goodness, man. Drew Eubanks with the Kings. Would Drew Eubanks play for the Kings? Who's their backup center behind Sabonis? Yeah, he probably will be backing up Domantas Sabonis. The Drew Eubanks one is gonna eat me up all season long. Every time I watch a Kings game, I'm gonna say, who he played for? Christian got me when I almost had the 10 out of 10. As always, though, I appreciate everybody for taking time out to tune in to Tee It Up. This is the first episode with NBC. I hope you enjoyed this Enjoy Hour. You get it? You like it? Yeah. We will be here weekly, Wednesday. And tune in to the rest of the week for the Enjoy Hour. We're going to give y'all a lot of content and great basketball talk throughout the week. As always, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Let's keep it going. We out. Peace.